Hi indie gamers, what's up? I'm Leonardo, but you can call me Leo or Leon, wherever you want. I'm the host of Indica, the Italian podcast about indie games where size doesn't matter. I'm here to launch Indica Awards. Yes, you heard that right, Indica is becoming international. I started this project because over the next few years I want to build independent games, help other people build indie games, and promote the kind of games that usually get buried under a truckload of marketing money, safe sequels, and corporate slop. And doing all of that only in Italian is, let's be honest, a pretty stupid limitation. I love the Italian scene, of course, but independent games are not local, devs are everywhere, players are everywhere. And if I want Indica to actually connect with people making these games, I need to put my very light, almost invisible, absolutely microscopic Italian accent on the line and try to do this thing in English too. So how this is going to work? The main podcast will still be recorded in Italian. That version is very spontaneous, very improvised, sometimes it's a podcast, sometimes it's like a therapy, sometimes it's a man slowly losing his mind while reading Steam pages. Then, for Indica Wars, I'll take that material, adapt it, clean it, and then I will turn it into something that hopefully makes sense for an international audience. Not a literal translation, not some dead corporate AI-dubbed garbage, a real Indica version in English. Same opinions, same sarcasm, same questionable jokes, just with fewer Italian words flying around like kitchen knives. And honestly, this is also useful because I can finally let dev understand what the hell I said about their games. Because sometimes I talk about games, I tag the devs, and then I realize, wait, this poor chat's the dev get a link to a full Italian podcast. What is he supposed to do with that? So yes, English makes sense for them, for the audience, and also for me. Because I understand English pretty well at this point. I'm nearly 40. I don't even turn on subtitles anymore on YouTube, unless I'm watching movies. Movies are different. In movies, sometimes the audio is mixed by someone who apparently ate dialogue, human beings, and microphone. And if you think English movies are bad, try Italian movies. Italian cinema has this incredible tradition where actors whisper existential trauma directly into a pillow while a scooter explode outside the windows. So comprehension is not the problem. Speaking is the problem, as you can hear. And this is also my excuse to get better at it. I want to be understandable, and that's it. I don't want to sound cockney. I don't want to sound like a Texas guy. I just want to be understandable. So if you want to help with that and you hear some very, very bad pronunciation, just let me know, send me a vocal message somewhere. You can find under the episode all the links that connect to Indica. The social pages will slowly become bilingual, Italian and English. Same project, 2 doors. Now, a quick explanation. Indica works in levels. Every episode is a level like in a video game. In each level, I go through the release of the week, the indie games that caught my attention and that I'm playing, industry news, weird discoveries, and hidden gems. This is not a neutral news podcast. If you want basic information, you can open any website and read the same press release, copied 6 times with a different headline. Indica is an opinion podcast, personal, sarcastic, sometimes cynical, sometimes way too honest. The goal is not to pretend I'm an institution or a journalist. The goal is to find interesting games, talk about them with a real voice, and maybe help a few good projects get noticed before they get sucked into the Steam swamp. So, welcome to Indica Awards. Welcome to level 37. Press any key to start.
Video games are in a new era, where small teams can create the art of the future.
Indica, il podcast dei videogiochi indipendenti, dove le dimensioni non contano.
Premere qualunque tasto per iniziare.
In this moment I feel exactly the same as when I started the Italian version of Indica. The first 2 or 3 episodes, even 4 or 5, I was like a robot. Then a couple of friends of mine told me, Leo, please be more natural, you sound like a robot. And then I got used to it. So I will need 2 or 3 episodes at least to improve a little bit on the flow. But let's start with the Italian Video Game Awards. They happened during First Playable in Florence, which is this very cool business-to-business event where developers meet publisher, pitch games, talk business, shake hands, and in my case probably drinking a little bit too much of coffee and alcohol. Then, during the event, they also give awards to the best Italian games of the year in an amazing cinema in Florence. The jury was pretty solid: Lorenzo Mancuso from multiplayer.it, Ariel Pai from P-Cube, Simone Silvestri from House Marquee, Stefania Sperandio, formerly the boss at Spazio Games, that is a famous Italian online news outlet, and then 1 extra vote from the Idea developers member. That last part, honestly, I don't love it. Because Idea is the association of video game in Italy, so a lot of other video game companies are associated to them. So I don't like that you put an anonymous association vote inside an award where companies, studio, friends, competitors and people with stake in the scene may all be involved. It's get a bit muddy on my point of view. Not a scandal, but just a little Italian-style fog machine. Anyway, let's go through the winners. Outstanding experience went to Horses by Andrea Lucco Borlera and Santa Ragione. I think that you could have heard about this game because it's the indie game that Steam didn't want on their shop, and they have a lot of trouble about it. Outstanding audio and outstanding art went to By Sweet Carol by Little Sewing Machine. Community Spotlight went to The Lonesome Guild by Tiny Bull Studio from Turin. Best Italian debut game went to Dino Path Trail by Void Pointer, and the big one, Best Italian game, went to The Lonesome Guild. So, strong night for The Lonesome Guild and By Sweet Carol. Both amazing game, they both crushed it. The only thing I always notice with this award is that the same 4 or 5 games tend to appear everywhere. Maybe that's because those really are the only big Italian release of the year. That's a possibility. Maybe not. But I would love to see more variety. And this is not only on the awards, it's on all of us. If we want more variety in the Italian awards, we need more Italian games good enough, weird enough, finished enough, and visible enough to actually get there. So yes, congratulations to the winner, but also Italy, please make more strange shit. The second news is about Playstack. If this doesn't ring a bell, it is the publisher behind Balatro, Abiotic Factor, The Case of the Golden Idol, and a bunch of other very successful indie games. We already talked about them a few levels ago because of their absurd hit rate. Around 85% of their games apparently make back more than their development cost. And we checked it. I actually went on Gamalytic to check all the numbers. It sounded like marketing, but then you look at the catalog and annoyingly it seemed true. They are very, very good at it. So, what happened? Playstack has been sold, but let's rewind. Playstack was founded in 2016 by Harvey Elliott, who is still the CEO. He was an ex-Electronic Arts guy, so basically someone who escaped the AAA machine, washed the corporate smell of his clothes and said, "Why don't we build a publisher for small indie games, but with the industrial weapons we learn in the big boy world?" And that's important, because Playstack was never the romantic indie publisher born in a garage with 3 people, 1 broken laptop and a dream. They were built properly from the start: scouting, publishing, business, structure, money, strategy. Not 3 random dude improvising with a Gmail account. Then Truefin came in. Truefin is a British fintech investment company. Not a game publisher, only a finance company. They put money in, took control and owned about 84.5% of Playstack. Now that stake has been sold to Vantage Co., and Vantage Co. is controlled by Integrated Media Company. Yes, is a matryoshka. And Integrated Media Company owns stuff like Fandom, GameSpot, Metacritic, Fanatical, Screen Junkies. So we are already inside a very, very big matryoshka. But it gets better because IMC itself is backed by TPG, one of the biggest private equity firms in the United States, managing around $300 billion fucking dollar. So Playstack gets valued at around 125 million pounds, roughly $179 million, which sounds gigantic, but for TPG, that's like me dropping 20 cents on the floor, feeling my back hurt and deciding, you know what, the floor can keep it. So why did they buy Playstack? Because Playstack is exactly the kind of thing money people love. Small project, small teams, high upside. One solo developer can make Balatro, and suddenly the number looks disgusting in the best possible way. It's basically startup hunting, but with pixel art, deck builders and developers who haven't slept properly since 2021. Now, should we worry? A little, always a little worried. Private equity buying things is rarely the beginning of a fairy tale, but I don't think this is immediately a disaster. First, Playstack was already a very professional finance-backed publisher. Second, when you buy a company that gets things right 85% of the time, you don't usually walk in and say, great job, guy, everybody. Very, very good job. Now please delete all your brain and make Balatro Mobile NFT Casino Battle Pass Edition. Could it happen? Of course. We live in a very stupid timeline. Companies famous for making remakes have been shoved into free-to-play mines before. Everything is possible, but right now, Harvey Elliott say the team, the strategy, and the way they work will stay the same. They won't be folded into GameSpot or Fandom, they should remain separate. And honestly, the most important thing, Elliott say, is this. Until the developer sees the first money, Playstack should not have taken money first. That is huge, because this is where a lot of indie publishing gets poisonous. A publisher gives a developer money, the game launches, and before the developer see anything, the publisher recoup everything. So the developer spend launch week fixing bugs, doing patches, reading angry Steam reviews, and still hasn't seen an euro or a dollar from the game they spent 2 years building. That's our studio break. So yes, Playstack has been sold to a giant financial matryoshka. But if the new owners just give them more money and don't break their balls, this could actually be a good thing for us. Big if, very, very big if. But still... Now we finally move to games. First one is Particulitix. I already talked about this game before, but now it's actually out. It's on Steam, it's cheap, and if you like bullet heaven games, you should check it out. But I don't want to talk about it only as a game. I want to talk about it because this is the first time Indica actually did the thing Indica was born to do. Indica exists to help independent games from the lowest possible level, not only the one with publishers, not only the one already polished, already wishlisted, already blessed by the algorithm pop. I'm talking about people building things alone, or almost alone, who need brutally honest feedback before Steam eats them alive. Julien, the developer of Particulitix, sent me a key. I played the game a lot because I liked it, and that part is very important. If your game is not my genre, I can try it, I can give you some general feedback, but I can't magically become the perfect audience for it. If I don't connect with it, there is a limit to what I can give. But if the game clicks with me, I can put 15-16 hours into it, and then I can give proper feedback. Not only on the gameplay, also on the Steam page, the controls, controller support, keyboard support, quality of life, translation, and all the other boring stuff. The tiny annoying things that developers miss because they have been staring at the same build for months and their eyes are basically cooked. That's where I think Indica can actually be useful. Not as a review machine, not as a send me your game and I'll say it's beautiful because we are all indie friends. No fucking way. If something doesn't work, I'll tell you. If something is confusing, I'll tell you. If your Steam page looked like it was assembled during an earthquake, I'll fucking tell you. With love, but I'll tell you. With Julien, we had a Discord call for about an hour, then we kept talking by email, and I'm genuinely happy because he also decided to credit me inside the game. That was not required, I don't need it, I can stay anonymous if needed, but I really appreciate it. So yes, go check out Particulitix, thank you so much Julien. There is a tiny bit of Indica inside it, and that for me is exactly the point of this whole stupid beautiful project. Our second game is Mina the Hollower. It's by Yacht Club Game from Los Angeles. They are the same dev behind Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight was a massive indie success. It started on Kickstarter, and if I remember correctly, they had promised that if they reached certain stretch goals, they would add all the DLC for free. And from there, they made Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, Shovel Knight Dig, Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, basically 18 different Shovel Knights. And now, finally, they arrive with Mina the Hollower. This one also went through Kickstarter, they were asking for around 300k, and instead they raised about 1.1 million. Bling, 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 good for them. The game is a gothic action RPG adventure in a pixel-perfect world with this beautiful, modernized 8-bit style. It mixes gameplay from games like The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening and Castlevania, with something closer to Bloodborne. We play as Mina, a Hollower. A Hollower is someone who studies the resource of the world, and because of that Mina is basically a little mole. She can go underground and move very very fast. So the combat loop is built around a whip. Yeah, she got a whip, she is a rat with a whip, which is your main weapon, and the other move which is going underground. You get this gothic, slightly horror atmosphere, apparently there are even jump scares. There are colorful characters and a combat system that feel like a sort of Souls-like inside an old-school RPG structure. It seemed to mix past and present very well, and I love contrast. It also seemed to be pretty difficult, so if you don't like game with a high level of challenge, Mina the Hollower probably isn't for you. The important thing is that the game is doing very well. It sold around 500,000 copies in a few weeks, and most importantly, it got a 10 out of 10 from IGN, without being mentioned even once by Asmongold, so there is a double prize in it. So, another achievement unlocked for the Yacht Club Games people. Let's move on to Fatekeeper. This is a game developed by Paraglacial, their debut project, and published by THQ Nordic. It's a very clearly inspired by Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, a game released on October 25th, 2006, developed by Arcane Studios and published by my personal nemesis, Ubisoft. Ubisoft, by the way, is cutting a few more jobs and has closed a couple of little companies in this day. Old foxes, old bastards. Anyway, back to Fatekeeper. The game is being developed by this team of 12 people, and when you watch the trailer, it looks like a AAA game. You can smell Unreal Engine everywhere, but it doesn't feel like asset store character or copy-pasted garbage. It feels like a world with its own character, designed and drawn with intention. It's a first-person game where you have a massive sword in your hand, magical powers, and you explore this fantasy world. At the moment, in this early access version, the narrative content seemed to last around a couple hours, according to the comments and the reviews. The game still seems very clunky in combat, it's not perfect yet, but it has strong characterization, like this talking rat you can carry around with you, which already made some noise when the trailer came out. Right now the game costs $9.99, discounted by 20%, so $7.99 for a couple more days from when this episode come out. So if you love Dark Messiah or that specific kind of game where you walk around with a big sword in your hand beating up monster, this is perfect. But it's also a game you can wait on, not years, maybe a few months, maybe a year, just to see what they cook. Because the game already looks really cool. The graphics are crazy, the monsters have a lot of personality, and I have to say, it impressed me immediately. And usually graphics don't impress me that much. But this doesn't look like the usual AAA looking Unreal thing. It looked like something with actual character, but made with that level of visual quality. Really cool. Oh, I almost forgot, the Paraglasher guys are from Germany, so yes, German games are making themselves heard another time besides Summer Game Fest. Now, if they let us in, we enter the bunker of Underchoice. This is a game developed by TG Indie and published by Targem Games, which are basically the same things. It's a Russian company also known for Crossout. They released this indie game that looked like the illegitimate child of Paper Please and Fallout. We manage an atomic bunker. We are a little robot and we have to decide who gets inside for our survival. We have 5 slots, so 5 people can enter. Among the people who can show up there are soldiers, rebels, people who want to break everything, people who come to steal, or very good people we should let in and make work. Because they can have roles like doctor or engineer, the games move day by day. Events happen, for example, bombing attacks. Will they eat us? Will they miss us? And then you find out. And we have to keep repairing, keep managing the bunker and pay attention to having the right people inside. What happens if we have the wrong person? I tried the game and it was very nice because we had 4 model citizens inside the bunker, but then the trader arrived. A trader shows up every few days, sell you some things, and you can also sell your things to him. The first thing I saw was poison, and I said to my friend, okay, let's try giving it to this guy. So we give it to him and we killed him. Then later we discovered that actually you can use poison to eliminate a spy. You have to pay attention to energy, to the energy of the bunker, because operation like producing food or cooking cost energy, even if you have someone who can cook. Some characters can generate energy, but the whole management is about energy, bunker life, and keeping your character alive. If they lose their 3 little hearts, they don't die immediately. If you have a defibrillator, you can bring them back. You can also do nice little things like giving them sleeping pills if you don't have enough food, so they sleep instead of eating. It's not great for their long-term health, but we are in a survival mode here. For now, I managed to reach something like day 50 or 60. I still have to explore it a little bit more. But it's a little game that intrigued me immediately when I saw it, and I confirm that for $7 with the 15% discount, it is absolutely worth it. If you also believe your bank account could be a little richer, you can join from 1 to 8 players in the greatest heist ever committed by penguins. This game was made by 2 crazy Dutch people called That Fish and That Other Fish. They are both the dev and the publishers. The game was in early access and came out in version 1.0 in the 3 of June. I looked at their social pages and they were already doing penguin bullshit back in 2022. They're fucking geniuses. Because they made a game called The Greatest Penguin Heist of All Time, as if there were other penguin heists competing for the title. The game they made before this one, while still was in early access, it's called Detective Penguin, which is the only physics-based penguin detective game on the market. So yes, I can confirm it, they are 2 geniuses. What is this game about? It's basically something close to Gang Beast or Human Fall Flat in terms of physics, that kind of physics that is always slightly hard to control, ragdolling and stuff like that. We play as penguins and we have to complete up to 10 different heists, so it's like Gang Beast versus Payday. Some are more action-based and some are more stealth-based. On top of that there is a city, 1,000 side quests, and apparently you can even cook a pizza. It absolutely looks like an idiot game, but they are not that idiotic. The game sold 189,000 copies. The gross revenue is 1.9 million, and if it really was 2 people working for it for 5 years, I think it's a good result. They are bringing home the big loaf. Apparently the game is genuinely very fun. It has an all-time peak of 377 players, so we are not talking about a game that exploded. It's the kind of stupid game you pick up with your group of friends to do some heist. Maybe after a few hours you start breaking your balls, but according to the comments the game is actually good. It has very positive reviews with almost 2000 reviews. So, good for the two penguins. Let's continue this wonderful parade of madness with Killer Bean. This is a game where I previously said we were playing as a bean. I was wrong. Our protagonist is not a bean, he is a coffee bean. The game is developed and published by Killer Bean Studios LLC. It has almost 1700 positive reviews. It looked like complete bullshit, but I think there is much more underneath. Let's start with Jeff Liu, the man behind Killer Bean Studios. Most likely this is a very small team, basically built around him. He was the writer and creator of Killer Bean Forever, this animated movie from 2008, where we are a coffee bean doing John Woo moves, Max Payne slow motion and all that beautiful nonsense. That is the animation where the Killer Bean insanity comes from. And Jeff Liu was not an idiot. In those years, and in the year before, he worked on visual effects for Tron Legacy, X-Men and Matrix Reloaded. So he definitely knows how to put his hand on VFX. And you can see that in Killer Bean, because this is a first-person and third-person action game with slow-motion mechanics, very cool cutscenes, and very simple but effective character animations. For example, there is one where he does the move basketball players do before dunking, passing the ball under the leg, except he does it with a grenade. Then you have a lot of game modes. The main one is this campaign that wants to become procedurally generated, different every time you play it. Very, very ambitious. The game started a bit too punishing. In the latest update they basically wrote, okay guys, we changed the save system, we give you more lives, more things, because the old system was like this. On hard you add 1 life, on normal 3 lives, and on easy 5 lives. But what happened if you were 40 minutes into the campaign with our little coffee bean who can also ride all kind of vehicles, boats, jetpack, mech, all these Hollywood production madness, but with something that almost looked like a foreskin? I mean it really looks a bit like that. Anyway, the important thing is that good old Jeff Liu is a bit sadistic. He had made the game so that when you lost, the save disappeared. But he probably received dozens and dozens of death threats, because now he updated the game and is not like that anymore. And he even wrote a joke saying the old system was pissing people off, so we changed it. I think this is a truly stupid thing in the best sense. It normally costs 15 euros. Right now, as usual after launch, it has a 20% discount because it just released in early access. But I think we will hear about this game again because it looked like a fun action game. A little bit in that Lego or semi-Lego for adults area, but with a real Max Payne touch. Takedown, slow motion, grenade, those are very visual moves that are actually cool to watch, and honestly, that works. Moving on, as John Oliver would say, we have Lost Castle 2. This is a sequel to a game I never played. And now I already decided I'm going to play both this one and the previous one. I don't know in which order yet, but I think I'll behave properly and I start from the first. Lost Castle 2 is developed and published by Hunter Studio, an indie studio from China. They had a huge success with the first Lost Castle, which I had completely missed. It's a beat-em-up roguelike where we are inside a castle, we beat up monsters, and apparently it's very fun to play in a team. There is a nice variety of weapons and upgrades, but above all, it has very cool visual style. The first game already looked promising. The second one looks super. It is inspired by that kind of illustration style you can see in games like Don't Starve or Cult of the Lamb. Those illustrations where you can clearly see the black outline, the 2D drawing inside a 3D world. And here it's done really well. At the moment, it has an all-time peak of 28k players, it has almost 1000 reviews, it is estimated to have sold around 1.8 million copies. It has been in early access for a while and it came out in its definitive version on June 11th. These feel like one of those gems that get lost because there is an ocean in the middle, also because it is produced in Asia, and even though the franchise apparently sold around 3 million copies, it had never even entered my radar. Now it has. And as I said before, I'm going to recover it, because this is exactly the kind of experience I was looking for after Absolum. Something to play with a controller in my hands, with my friends, where we beat up enemies in an environment where we build our run. That feeling of, I found this new thing, let's try that sword, let's buy these, let's take that upgrade. And I have to say, it's look really well made. Let's stay on co-op games with one of the GOAT of this genre. I'm talking about Unrailed 2, back on track. If you don't know what Unrailed is a tiny Swiss game born during a game jam. In it, we have to build the tracks of a train while the train is moving. We have to reach a station and we have to build the tracks ourselves. So, around the map, there are trees, rock, resources. We have to go around, collect what we need, and manage to build these tracks in time before the train reaches the end of the line. It's a beautiful game. And here I have a confession to make. In one of the last episodes, I told you I had a past as a Rocket League commentator. Now comes a new confession. During COVID, when we had time to throw away, me and one of my colleagues, an Italian athlete called Zen, spent time doing dumb shit on Twitch, and I became a pro player of Unrailed. I ended up in a tournament organized by the Swiss developers themselves. Together with a streamer called Shibu, they organized this Unrailed tournament, Unrailed tournament. We discovered it and said, well, let's go! Represent immediately Italy, so we sign up. We did a lot of live stream where we trained, we became really strong, or at least we thought about it. Me and Zen played this and overcooked like maniacs. We studied every technique, we had an actual system, we played like we were professionals. At one point we even said, let's try to beat the world record in Overcooked, we're very strong. Then we saw some Chinese players who were basically twice as fast as us. But in Unrailed, we were actually promising. We got to the tournament and we saw that the others were not that much stronger than us, even the people who had won the previous tournament. So we were super hyped, we were like, we are incredible Unrailed athletes, what happened? Two things happened. The first one is that the tournament had two different kind of races. One was normal Unrailed game, the other one, I don't even remember what the fuck it was, but we didn't know it existed. So we were super prepared for the first race and knew absolutely nothing about the other. That's one of the reasons we got eliminated. The other reason is that at that time we were at home doing stupid live stream on Twitch, and even if you probably shouldn't do it, but now it's expired by prescription, I was drinking. I had cocktails there, stuff like that, so in the final tournament I was also pretty wasted. The funny thing is that later the two strongest players in the game contacted us and they said, how the fuck did you play so well in the first part and then so badly in the other one? And we told them, we didn't know it existed, fuck. If I remember correctly, we also had played some friendly match with them afterwards. It was very nice, the environment was beautiful, it was this group of streamers plus this tiny little studio with the support of a publisher called Kepler Ghost. And Kepler Ghost is a serious publisher. In recent time they released 33 Immortals, which is a game I should have talked about today, but I don't have time. It's a roguelike where you play with 33 other people. You can make a team up to 4, but then every game you have to match up with other 33 players. Sorry, this was a mixed Italian-English word. They also publish games like Keep Driving, Neocab, Guacamelee 2. So yes, they are a serious publisher and they are helping them. Unrailed 2 came out of early access and is already having a huge success. I recommend it because it is extremely direct, you immediately understand the objective, you immediately understand what you have to do, and then you have to organize and communicate. Sometimes the train catches fire and you need to fill the bucket with the water, but where is the fucking bucket? If you left it behind, the whole train goes up in flames. Compared to the first game, they added a general progression system that was not there before. Now you move forward, unlock things little by little and get more stuff. A lot of customization, so it's a big step up, and the important thing to remember is that all of these started from a tiny game jam. From believing in one idea. Some streamers saw that idea, liked it, carried it forward, and from there two games were born from our Swiss cousin. I am going to close with a roundup of games I couldn't include fully, but I still want to mention. Let's start with Solarpunk. It is developed by two Germans, so Germans game, as my surname says, are going very strong. For anyone who doesn't know, my name is Leonardo Tedeschi. In Italian it means Leonardo Germans. That was the terrible pun, sorry for it. In Solarpunk we have this very cozy survival world where we craft things on floating islands. We grow our little tomatoes, we build our stuff, and it is a very cool case because it is made by two people. They had 1.2 million wish list and 500k players of their demo during the Steam Next Fest. I can't even imagine the pressure on this guy. The expectations were gigantic and they made a beautiful post saying, "Look, this game is not for everyone, it is not a game for hundreds of hours, it is not a gigantic game, it is not this, it is not that. When you go to Steam to try to buy it, this thing is written clearly, so huge respect." They gave information before finding themselves with hundreds of thousands of people saying, "But the game only lasts this long, but the game only has these." No, very good, they put their hands forward. The game is like this, period. If you like it, good. They also added there is no PvP and no PvP ever will be. There is no normal survival pressure. The game is like that, it's a chill experience. You go around, the core mechanic is these floating islands, system where you grow vegetables and you go on. If that experience interests you, good. Personally, I respect it a lot, and I like seeing original big worlds made by teams this small. Then we have Voidling Bound by Hatchery Games, a team of 9 people from Quebec. They basically made this fusion between a looter-shooter and a Pokemon or sports-style game. We are on this planet, we go around and we have to collect and capture these creatures. It already has a lot of positive reviews, and above all, it starts to become impressive to see world made this well. You look at it and think, what is this? The new game from some Ubisoft division? No, it's the game of 9 people from Quebec. I'm starting to see a pattern here and there. Like that Far West game, made by a tiny team but already looking like something a much bigger company could have delivered. Then we have Freefall 95. We are inside this flight that we already know is going to be destroyed. We are this little guy who has to float in the air and try to stay alive as long as possible before hitting the ground. So it's a game where you crash no matter what. But before crashing, you have to try to do 1,000 tricks, collect things around and follow mission given to you by the other people on the plane. Because the menu is entirely contextualized inside the plane. I tried this one, it is very fun, and this one is also doing very well, and is made by S-Band Games from Melbourne. The last little gem is Swan Song. Swan means cigno in Italian, so Swan Song is la canzone del cigno. It is a super cozy little game with beautiful music made by a music box. Obviously there is a composer who made it, but in the game there is this music box. We have to move a swan by solving puzzles that contain melodies. When we solve them, we place note on a musical stuff, and there's notes unlock path, and those notes unlock paths and move the path for the Swan, so we can finish the level. It is one of those tiny games, but made with art this big. We have reached the end of this very stuffed level 37. I usually cover 1 week of games every level, but this time I did a DLC about the Summer Game Fest and all the other kind of showcases, and so I had to put a lot of stuff in there, but usually I will be a little bit lighter than this. This is my first experience in English. I'm so fucking ashamed of my pronunciation. I will never, ever re-listen to this episode, and I really hope that it is not too much distraction for the content that I say, because I actually say pretty interesting stuff, but with this voice like Peter Griffin in Family Guy. Let's say one time that Italian doesn't speak like that. They actually speak like me. So very TR and stuff like that, that's for sure. But we don't do... No, that's not us. That's the Brooklyn guy. That's the guy that were Italian 200 years ago and now they are Americans. So thank you so much for following me and to listening to this level. We will be back very, very soon with the level 38. I have to thank our friend, my friend, a stand-up comedian, an Italian stand-up comedian called Valerio Rockelmeier, and his friend Brando, because they helped me creating some new videos for the social channel that you can find in the link in the description. By the way, it is the first video I have written, shot and edited in quite a long time. I'm getting back to it, and very soon some English content will come out. I don't know exactly when, but I will come back with level 38. In the meantime, as always, thank you very much for following me. See you soon!
Video games are in a new era where small teams can create the art of the future.
Indica, il podcast indipendente per menti indipendenti. Realizzato da Audioson Studios.